My name is Louise Levison, and I write business plans for independent filmmakers and consult with independent filmmakers on the whole area of independent film. Well, I used to always like to tell people I broke a mirror because that brings you 7 years of bad luck, but I haven't broken a mirror since then. I always loved film, and I went through other areas doing corporate planning for large companies and doing business plans for smaller companies. And then in 1988, I started to look at there weren't any numbers for independent film, and I started going to Sundance. I've been going there for 29 years. And talking to people, because it was much smaller, and figuring out how independent film work compared to the studio numbers that were out there. And I created a methodology for forecasting based on my experience of doing business plans for other companies and just tweaking what is different about film. My specialty is writing the business plan for you, and which includes the forecast. The business plan is what you use to raise money from equity investors, private companies, anybody who's not one of the major studios in Hollywood. Well, there's something similar about investors come in all shapes and sizes and backgrounds. But the one similar thing is that they want to know how much money they're going to make and when they're going to make it. And they're used to this business plan formula, and that's what we want to give them. And even if it's your Aunt Sadie, she's going to go to her accountant, and her accountant's going to know what it should look like. Well, there's a whole outline you can even see for free on my website, but the most important things are describing the company, doing a 1 to 2 page thorough synopsis of your film, showing the storyline from beginning to end, describing what the genres are for your film, who's going to go see it, and then forecasting the numbers. And why are those the most important part? Because investors get very upset if things don't go their way, and these are usually the areas they can sue you over. Besides the areas they need to see and to inform them about whether or not they want to do this. Well, the biggest risk is nobody's going to give you money. There are a lot of people on the internet who like to say, well, all you need is a budget and a script. That might be all you need if you were going to a studio and somebody else was going to make your film. But if you're going to go raise money yourself, then people need the whole story. If you don't have it, the chances are, there's always some odd chance you'll meet somebody whose father just gave him money and they made a movie and it was a big success. But this is not the usual situation. You don't want to put in people who have never heard of you, have never communicated with you, and say that you would like them in your film, or you think you'll have them in your film, or mention them in any way whatsoever. You have to have at least an email from them saying they're interested in being in the film, and then you state specifically what it is. A lot of people know that there's a format for showing interest, but as far as I'm concerned, as long as the actor or the agent manager who has sent you something in writing, say this person is interested in being in your film, then you can say just that. You can't say he's going to be in your film or you have a contract, but you do not want to mention anybody that you think you'd like to have in your film. I had clients who didn't like what I said, so they put on IMDb that all these people were rumored. This is not a good idea either. I don't recommend it. The obvious section that really have to be careful about is the financials. First of all, you can't just take the free information from Box Office Mojo and make a forecast, because there's probably most of your films wouldn't show a budget, it wouldn't show a profit that way. You really need to you're going to have to buy data that gives you all of the revenue sources and at least the budget and the prints and ads, which we call P&A. So that, and they should be films that are within the same budget range. I know that, and goes back a lot of years, but it's still my favorite story, that I had somebody in a seminar who was going to make a $2 million film, and she was going to take the Blair Witch Project, which I love because I did it, and My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and a film that had grossed, a studio film that had a $27 million budget and had grossed like almost $1 billion worldwide. And she was going to add up the revenue for those 3 films, and it added up that I think her $2 million films was going to make $250 million at the US box office. And I said, you can't do that. She said, I want to do that anyway. And she never made her film. But you have to really be careful about the numbers you put in. And we say forecast and projection all over. We are never promising anything. And then hopefully, I'd like you to use my methodology, but hopefully you'll use some way of forecasting your film that makes sense. The other really important factor about a business plan is it is not a legal document. You cannot take money on it. There are no subscription documents attached to it. This is totally a marketing sales document, and no matter what kind of bizarre advertising you see people do on television, it still has to be a factual document. But you must have an attorney write. It was typically now an LLC, or maybe whatever legal form they want to use. You have to have a legal document written by an attorney. Do not take somebody else's and try to change it. This won't work. And that will also include subscription documents where the investor knows this is what they have to pay to be part of the film. The easiest way to reach me is to go to my website, moviemoney.com, and use my email address and email me. I'm also on Twitter, which is @PredictFilm. I'm on Facebook. I have a book called Filmmakers and Financing, Business Plans for Independence. And I'm now writing the 8th edition, so it's essentially a Bible of writing business plans for independent film, if I can be so bold as to say that.